Hello, beloveds. Happy Friday. Happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate Thanksgiving. So this is going to be a reading for our upcoming full moon in Gemini, which is at its peak on Monday. And so, as usual, within 3 days before, 3 days after the full moon, you will start to feel these energies, and I'm here to provide some wisdom with how to best utilize this energy and also to kind of decode what it could potentially mean for you personally as well as collectively. So let's go ahead and open up the space. By the way, I hopefully have gotten all of the issues worked out with my miking. That has been a very unusual issue for the last several readings. So I'm on a different computer now. Let's hope that this resolves it. I also have a brand new mic. So just entering into the space and calling forth transmissions of the highest truth, of light, love, calling forth space holding and any messages from the angelic realms, ascended masters, the saints, and asking for the wisdom through this message that will help us to enter more deeply into union with our own spirit, with our contact with the divine within us, through us, as us, and to understand how to make the most of the energy with this Gemini full moon. And it is so So I have my sun is in Gemini. If you know anything about astrology, that will probably make a lot of sense to you. So I love communication, as Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and you may find around this moon those themes, those Gemini themes of socializing and maybe higher mind activation, creative ideas, creative endeavors, wanting to share with other people. These are all Gemini qualities, and here we are at Thanksgiving, so it's like a perfect time to really dive in and explore who you are in the social world and what it is that maybe you are needing. Maybe there's something that you feel lacking in your social networking, and how can we use this time to identify what those needs are, and also maybe what needs to go, since it's a full moon and it's a point of completion. What needs to go? Are you done hibernating perhaps and want to spend a little bit more time being connected out in the world? Or maybe it is time to hibernate. Maybe you have been very external, and this is about creating a strong bond and relationship with yourself, being someone that you want to be around, which is, I find, to be a very important facet when wanting community, with wanting friendship, with wanting partnership. Are you a good partner to yourself? Are you someone that you want to be around? And if that seems questionable to you, I'm like trying to get all of this even, but I get so confused when I'm looking at myself in a mirror like this. Are you someone that you want to be with, and maybe is there ways that you can cultivate a more meaningful relationship with yourself? And so we divine with the oracle, to these oracle decks, to give more clarification. How interesting. So our top card here is courage, and following it I pulled loneliness. So the top card And I encourage you to look at this mandala. This is the courage mandala. This is the heart center. I find the inner strength to face fear with confidence. I think I'd like to read a bit more on this. So what needs changing? What do you need to do to facilitate? What actions need to take place? This feels very action oriented. We've been doing a good bit of like this shadow work excavation through the fall, meeting grief, meeting disappointment, self-doubt. And so there comes a point in that integration where it has to be practiced through the body. It has to be practiced in the world, which requires taking action. And as I've recently heard one Mayan elder saying that the religion of today is called action. So this card referencing courage says you need to remind yourself that part of the challenge of being a soul is learning to honor your own power. By listening to your inner voice and following its advice, you're acknowledging the perfection of your intuition. Fear is only an illusion, and obstacles are great opportunities for you to demonstrate that coming from a place of love will conquer all of fear's disguises. Perhaps you are changing career paths or exiting a relationship. And this test has been put before you because it is an opportunity to prove to yourself that you, and only you, can make the correct decision. By not taking that step forward, you may find yourself 2 steps back, only to face the same obstacle again. Ooh, so that feels a little spicy. How does that feel to you? Please feel free to drop in the comments or let me know. Let me know what's processing out in your world. What's moving in? What are you available for? And are you aware of that inner edge that's like, all right, it's time, like it's Mama Bird trying to scoot you off the ledge there. Are you ready to be transformed, to own your power, to open your wings, to leap from the nest, and to trust the wind to hold you beneath your wings? So here we have this card that was pulled, loneliness. I know that I am never alone. And this is almost like a reference to where you have been. Where you have been. And following it is the card that says beautiful place. So let's talk about where you've been. Are you experiencing this sense of loneliness? And how is that so? How is that so if you are really in love with yourself and in touch with life, in touch with your spirit? It's not possible. It's not possible to feel lonely, because there's a difference in being alone and feeling lonely. And perhaps this is what you reflect on in order to motivate the path forward of taking action. If you feel lonely and you have been living life in a certain way, if you have not put yourself out there because of fear of rejection, because of fear of pain, it's time to take the courageous step and to do the things that you have not done, and to not participate in this old cycle of self-pity or limitation by continuing these practices that will just perpetuate the same all over again. And the loneliness card Yeah, it's a reminder of the difference between being alone and being lonely. And for me, what's coming forward is it's really in being alone that you can become a great partner to yourself. And therefore, you will attract that out in the world. You will also be acknowledged and seen in that way. So it's in the aloneness that we establish this strong and direct relationship with who and what we are at our core, both our light and our dark. And when we do that, there's never that feeling of loneliness, because we are there showing up for ourselves. We have cultivated this deep inner knowing that we are interconnected. So I share that to hopefully speak to anyone who is experiencing loneliness or has been experiencing loneliness, and they feel like they've been doing a lot of this work, really evaluating what it is inside of them that still wants to be respected and honored and spent time with. And that this is a crossing of the threshold, if you will. And if it's something that's very active right now, how do you create relationship with yourself that's healthy? You know, like, how do you do that and not be distracted? Do you allow yourself to take walks in nature and to just enjoy the ability to move your body and to breathe and to experience, you know, the sounds and all of like the senses of being alive, as well as doing ritualistic things like, you know, giving yourself a bath and like really taking your time to massage your body and to adorn yourself with oils, maybe even to dress up for yourself, to dance in front of the mirror. These are all ways that you can connect and enjoy, you know, being here in a body, being with yourself, being alone, learning to enjoy being alone. As someone who works with a lot of people and has a family, like, the alone time is something that's so regenerative for me and so nourishing for me, and I look forward to it. And I look back on the times in my life, and I would not change where I'm at for anything, but I look back at the times when I was learning this, when I was learning how to be a good partner to myself, when I was living out in the desert in New Mexico, and, you know, the evenings that I would put on music and I would dance and I would be silly and I would do crafts and I would, you know, like paint and decorate my apartment. And like, I look back on them like, oh, that was such a juicy time in my life. To really have that kind of freedom and time with myself to get to know who I was, and then to love that, to love all of those parts of me. So I invite you into that, into all of those experiences that allow you to really appreciate who you are here now. Not who you're supposed to be or who you could have been. Who you are right now is perfect. And this follow-up card here, it says, your dreams of a more beautiful world are not a product of childish fantasy nor idle imagination. They are true spiritual visions inspired by the universal heart of the divine that yearns for beauty to be manifested in all worlds. You have a life purpose to assist in creation of divine harmony in the world through sacred activism and the expression of your soul talents. Believe that the beautiful world you long for is not only possible, but part of your spiritual responsibility to create. This is the now moment. This is actually what you are engaging in currently. This is what is here in this full moon. And as I'm like looking at the card, I see the tiger, I see the lion representing the courage and the power. And then you also have the horse, which represents like a wildness, a freedom, and a power as well. And the inner child there that's being cared for by the mother. The butterflies representing the transformation. And it's kind of fascinating if you look at our top card and this card together. At the very bottom of this card, the mandala of this looks very similar. So everything's tracking so far and lining up beautifully. Let's see if there's any more guidance in here that looks relative. An outcome is available to you that is far more beautiful and divinely inspired than what you can currently envision. Ask for divine help and trust unconditionally in the assistance that will lead you from the limitations of your current thinking into the perfection of what the divine wishes for you and our world. Warriors understand that we need to fight for peace in this world using our strength, courage, creativity, intelligence, and constant will to align with the peaceful presence within. Saboteurs will want you to believe that peace is passive, that it involves denial or detachment from the world, that it isn't relevant, practical, helpful, and doesn't create change, and that to rest in peace is some sort of unhealthy spiritual indulgence. This feels so collective. They will try to convince you of these lies to keep you trapped in violence and prevent you from accessing this powerful weapon against hate, a peaceful and compassionate heart. The practice of connecting through song can be instructive for all of humanity. With presence and awareness of our inner and outer terrain and how we experience the land around us is in all of its multi-layered sacred nuance, we become able to connect and contribute in a meaningful way. This oracle connects us with the beauty of the land as a sacred living reality to which our being belongs, and remembers that no one can come to wisdom on their own. If we work together, educating, encouraging, inspiring, and helping each other, we can, as a whole, learn to follow the sacred pathways of the earth in collective harmony. Aho, aho. This speaks so collectively as well as internally, this inner union, this bringing forth, how do we create partnership with ourselves? How do we create an inner society that is able to reconcile its differences, is able to reconcile the light and the dark, and to bring forth the best out of all? And as we do this, this begins to create an external presentation of this inner working, this inner matrix. And it is who and what we are at the core of our being. And it'll be reflected into the outer circumstances when we live in a way that is in harmony with ourselves and what we may receive in this full moon energy is, as we are coming to meet those pieces of ourself, spending time with ourself, finding out what it means to be alone versus being lonely, and this sense of community. How do we take the actions necessary, both inner and outer, to become someone in the community that's not solely focused on themselves, but is contributing something in the community through their authentic being. And I'm going to read this other card here. It says, God gives on a daily basis an unlimited number of electrons with which to create your life, and you are always free to create in any way you wish. So what are the things in your life that you are donating your energy to on a daily basis that are not generative and taking you towards this unionized, communal, supportive, courageous, bold, new way of just being in the world, of actively expressing your humanity and your divinity and all of your unique skills and presence? What is it that is causing the energy to still leak? Energy is starting to come in a little stronger now. Feels really, really good in my body, this memory almost. And I've got the crown chakra has come out here, and shield yourself. The crown chakra card says, pay attention to your ideas as they are messages of true divine guidance sent in answer to your prayers. I'm going to come back to this other card. It doesn't feel like it's time. I'm going to draw from here as well. The fifth power. I am a body and a soul. Let's reference the book. Okay, the fifth power. I am a body and a soul. This is what it means to be human. We forget we are not only this body, we are not only these fears and desires the ego conjures. We are also equally and entirely a soul. We are both, but we forget, and this is not punishment. This is not due to some defect or weakness in what it means to be human. The fact that we forget again and again about the other half of who we are is always and in every circumstance an opportunity. Every time we can remember, as in bring back together the eternal half of who we are with the human aspect of our nature, we practice what it means to be a true human being. In the midst of being entirely immersed in this forgetting, we can bring some fragment of the other half of who we are, some shred of light into the depths. It might be a memory of what it feels like to fall in love at first sight. It might be a memory of a kiss that took my breath away. In a world of the soul, I was set loose from the world of ego. This is how the chain of forgetfulness is broken. We remember. This remembrance of our spiritual, emotional bodies, of our physical bodies, not just being attached to the mental, which here in the West has kind of run rampant. But when we get in touch with these other subtle layers and the physical body in union, how could you ever be separate? How could you ever be alone? You're here with your body. And maybe that's one of the ways that you practice. If you have experienced a good bit of trauma in your life and disassociation, if you find yourself very ethereal and less grounded, these are the practices that will serve you well. These practices of being grounded, things like yoga, things like breath work, getting outside in nature, just getting in contact with the earth and the elements, even sitting around a fire. This is a really ideal time to be around fire and enjoy all of the potential friendship or qualities of being in and around other people over this weekend. to put you more in touch with what it feels like engaging with your senses in your body. How does it feel to be here in your body? And even if it doesn't feel good in the moment, can you still allow yourself to be with yourself, not self-abandon, not distract? Be with that part of yourself. Become its friend. And listen, really listen to these ideas that are coming forth. You know, if you have some kind of inspired idea that is awakened in you during this time, make a note of it and don't dismiss it. Return to it and then feel it. Feel it in the body, feel it in the emotions, and call upon the higher parts of you. Call upon the angelics. Call upon ascended masters. Whatever is aligned for you in invoking and connecting more deeply with source, with higher power. And you may find that you also will need to balance that out with how do you protect yourself? How do you shield yourself from, how do you stay open and also filter unwanted energy, unwanted exchanges? Because as you're expanding out and inviting more of yourself back into yourself, more of your humanity and your divinity into yourself, you're going to probably encounter some forces or aspects that could pretty easily derail you and may not actually be as helpful as they could be. So learning to protect yourself more so from the fear-based energies. Maybe if you're nurturing some part of your inner child that is very easily triggered by conflict or very easily triggered by, let's just say, the news, some kind of stimulus like that, then you may need to give a little time away from those things and protect yourself until the nervous system can grow through its trigger to that and can then choose to respond. You have that space in between the stimulus and the reaction to choose your response and to not be overtaken by the primal instincts in the body, but to rather watch them, observe, and then to choose a different cycle, to choose a different way of being with that part of yourself. And I'm getting to shuffle these one more time before I draw. They're just having me continue to shuffle these. This will be interesting to see what comes in. So, well, that, I guess, is why taming the wind. Taming the wind. Gemini is an air sign, and that represents the mind. This quality, you know, when the wind can get really gusty, it can rattle and shake things, multiple things at once. So we can have a lot of, it's monkey mind. That feels like the best reference for that. It's a monkey mind. And taming the wind, this also is card 55, so it feels like angel number 55, if that's relative to you. 55 or 5 to me represents the point where you've taken action to create the new life. Like it's actually becoming more established in physical form. You know, when we go through these cycles of destruction and recreation, so much of this starts in the energetic. It starts in the reflective phase, and eventually it moves out into form, and that comes through embodiment. So I find this really interesting because we are in a time of the season that it's about going more in, going deeper into reflection, but yet we have, it's almost like a nice break with this moon, and they're going to be a lot of opportunities through this for you to really perceive what you do not want in your life. Who are the people who are no longer a part of your future because they are not reflecting back to you what it is that is growing inside of you, what you want to grow in your life? Maybe they are there in your past as, reflections of where you've come from, but there reaches a certain point where you can't grow anymore when you keep those people around. I love the saying that, show me your 5 best friends and I'll show you where you'll be in 5 years. That has always stuck with me. I find that it is really relative and true. So take into consideration, like, if there are people in your life that really make you feel sticky, that really make you feel like, and I don't mean this as like better, like from the point of I'm better, but there are certain levels of consciousness that when we start to expand and grow, there are other people who aren't going to be growing at the same rate as us. And it takes effort to actually stay in that bandwidth with them. So let's say like you feel very stimulated by talking about the more mystical things of life, not just the mundane, but your friend group, you have a deep love and respect and enjoy being around them, but you actually leave feeling like a little cluttered, a little drained, a little like still hungry, right? So imagine going and having a meal, and let's just say this meal is it doesn't have any prana in the food. It's all, let's say, it's all processed food. And so when you leave there, you're still hungry. Why? Because there wasn't spirit in the food. So are you spending time with people and in groups where it's devoid of spirit, or not that it's completely devoid, but maybe it's just not at the level of richness that your soul is needing? And so if you are growing, you're going to need new nutrients, or you're going to need more water, or you're going to need more sunlight, and you're not going to be able to get that in the same environment that you were in before. It's unlikely. I'm not going to say you can't, but it's unlikely. And so to distill this message down, what I am hearing is that really use the illumination of this full moon to identify what relationships have come to their completion point, and identify if it means that you need to put space there, or you just need to figure out how you want to be in relationship with them that feels that it's more of an equal exchange and more honoring to how you were growing, what you were growing. And it means that you need to put yourself out into new circumstances too. You need to meet new people. You need to get out of your comfort zone. So the taming the wind, it says here, this feather symbolizes clearing ceremonies. It's for smudging, and it reminds you of the sacred commitment that you make to your life. This is the symbol of consciously bringing the spiritual into the material, infusing the world with reverence and an acknowledgement of the higher planes of existence that influence and animate all life. The feather is a symbolic reminder of deliberately entering into partnership with the Great Spirit to co-create for the highest good for all. It is time to clear your energy, beloveds. Be present and become conscious of how you communicate. This is a good time to write in a journal and put your thoughts into a cohesive form. Perhaps you need to actually do a smudging ceremony in your home or office, creating a sacred space to write about your dreams and desires. Just remember, this is a symbol of honoring Great Spirit with reverence and respect. This also calls for you to clear up any misunderstandings with others, clear the air after disagreements, and allow others to share their side of things. You are called now to be a good listener. This is not the time to be right. It's a time for you to understand rather than to be understood. Good things come out of this restraint of tongue and pen. You will be surprised at how things get resolved when you allow for all sides to have value. So much can get stirred up over the holidays. A lot of our own emotional triggering will come up, and I'm curious if this is relevant to anyone around clearing up misunderstandings, because it does take a lot of courage to approach maybe someone that has hurt you, or maybe you have hurt someone, and to really take the ownership where everyone has to take ownership, no matter if they're a victim or a perpetrator. There was an agreement to enter into some kind of exchange there. So is there some place that you can take ownership, shield yourself before you walk into these situations, shielding yourself not from the other person, but rather the fear energies that can trigger these old reactivities, and to really hold space for the other human being to be human, just as well as you hold space for yourself to be human. We all have these triggers. We all have these tendencies. We all have shadows, and we all have dark sides, and we all have light. We all have goodness, and we all have holiness. And to really hold that for yourself and for other people, and to create the kind of space that we want to see in the world, where we deeply listen for what we haven't understood, what we didn't see within them. How can we change our perception and therefore clear the air? Pulling our last card, Dance with Life. This is where this will all take us. Do something to change your energy. Do something to change your energy. So as I was setting up for this reading, I'm looking at my table, which is almost always orderly when I do this. I have my deck set up on the left, and then I have the boxes on the right. But I observed before I even started the reading just how unusual and kind of chaotic my table is. If you could see it, you would think, wow, this is a really unorganized presentation. But I actually could see the switching of the energy is how I perceived it. I was like, whoa, not only did I switch up the sides here and put all of my boxes on the left, my cards on the right, but I also am using a new computer and a new mic. So to me, that's a reflection of new perception, new technology, a new way of speaking and communicating, and how I'm switching the energy. So these little things can really help to change the way that the brain is perceiving, change the way that the brain is understanding and projecting life, and rewriting these neural pathways so that more spiritual energy is integrated into the body, into the human. So whatever you can do, and I've gotten this signal a lot with the dancing and the singing. Singing was part of the reading. Those things that are light and joyful and playful. And I mean, geez, I know for me, I've had some moments this last week where I'm just why am I so freaking serious? It's an old pattern that I'm having to learn. I'm having to unlearn, actually. I'm having to unlearn certain things about myself that in particular can prevent me from being fully honest in who I am in every moment. So intimacy being one of those guards that we can put up personifications around, because we're afraid of being seen for all of the reasons that have been detrimental to us, that have been isolating and painful, especially as children, especially as dreamers in the world. The Dance with Life card says, life is always moving. If you resist this ever-changing flow, your energy will become stagnant and you will fall out of flow with the universe. The universe has a mysterious, intelligent force, a natural rhythmic beat, which governs all of life. One of the best ways to shift your energy, frequency, and vibration is to put on some music and dance along with it. When we dance unrestrained, our spirit takes over, and with each new bop, sway, and kick, we are rocked back into harmony with the rest of life. Get unstuck by doing something that shifts your vibration. Put on some music, dance unrestrained, and fall into the frequency of life. In doing so, your body will begin to learn how to be moved by your intuition, which is connected with this systematic beat. And if dancing isn't your thing, then simply do something that you would not usually do to shift the energy. You cannot solve a problem with the same mind that created it, and you cannot attract a different experience without changing your energy first. It's time to shift things up and to find a way to dance along with the beat of life. Do something that changes your energy. Whatever you typically do the opposite of it. I love this one technique in particular, and I actually forget to do it quite often, but whatever hand you brush your teeth with, brush with the opposite. A yogic technique that's really effective is flip upside down. Do headstands, lay on your couch with your head leaning back, mindful of your neck, and get a different perspective on life. If you usually go for a run or a walk in one direction, go in the other direction. If you usually walk forwards, try walking backwards. There's so many ways that you can get creative and just start to shift the way that you're experiencing and taking action in the world. So if this message resonated, if this was helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe, share this with as many people as you feel will support them. And I'm always so grateful that you're here with me. I would love to hear comments on how you are integrating this energy, how it's presenting to you, anything that you might want to offer into the chat. And as always, keep it pure and stay simple. Pura vida. Pura vida.